What is up, everybody? It's Sam here with BFPGear.com, and today I am joined by the man, the myth, the legend, Junior Brown of San Diego Dynasty. Junior is one of the coaches for San Diego Dynasty, and they just recently took home the gold medal for the NXL Lone Star 3v3 event. But we're going to talk about the 3v3 event and what it means for the future of the NXL and just paintball in general. So first and foremost, Junior, how you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for inviting me on. I felt like I couldn't say no when you walked in the office and said, we need you to do a video.
Yeah. It's watching the 3v3 event was also like really cool as well. Getting like all 20 teams in a double elimination format was a lot different, but that's what we got to talk about is the 3v3 format. So first question I got here for you is what excites you the most about the 3v3 format?
I think it's really the fact that the Major League Paintball are trying something new and putting another format out there, right? So now we have a lot more options for people, for viewers, for fans. I think the other thing that excites me is you get more points in during the match time. Like the 3v3 was probably a 7-minute match, I want to say. I could be wrong.
I think so, yeah.
But there was more points played in that than in a 15-minute X-Ball match. So as a viewer, as a fan, I can get to see more action, right? So I think that's probably it.
That actually segues into the next question really well. How does 3 versus 3 fit into the bigger picture alongside X-Ball, which is 5v5?
Obviously, I can't talk for Major League Paintball, but I would say it's fitting in where they can offer two different formats to different networks, different options. They've got a lot more options, and I did hear Tom Cole say on a podcast recently that he's had opportunities in the past to have an event in Las Vegas, hold it on the Strip, but with X-Ball, it's just a bigger thing to try and move and pull off. Where recently we just saw the 3v3 on ESPN, and it was 4 teams invite. It was a lot smaller format. It was easier for his crew and for them as a company to set up. So I think that's how it fits in. It's another option for them to try and use a tool, I would say, to promote paintball.
Okay. All right, so now talking about 3v3, game-wise. So from a strategy point of view, what is the biggest difference between 3v3 and 5 versus 5?
I would obviously it's a faster paced game, so I think you've got to put that into the strategy of it. But failing that, it's still paintball, just speed it up. Still X-Ball, just speed it up, right? So as long as you have all your bases covered, you don't need just a lot of small, fast guys. You still have that where you need good shooters off the break. You need smart paintball players. You don't want to just send cannons, so to speak, because some people are like, hey, why don't you just get lots of fast dudes and send them? And that is an option, but I think you've got to still look at it. There's a lot more opportunity on 3v3 to really read the game and see those big moves open up. And sometimes that's this bigger, smarter player. So
that is actually pretty true. There were some pretty sick moves in both of the 3v3s, the ESPN, the Lone Star, which actually goes into the next question here, which is comparing the ESPN 3v3 and the Lone Star event. What stood out from both of those events, and is there anything from like one over the other you'd keep? For example, I really liked the paint that was used at the ESPN event because it was that bright yellow shell, super easy to track.
Yeah. That would be my number one thing. That's what, as soon as you started the question, I think the yellow paint should transition over. Whether it's regular X-Ball or 3-man, you could just see it so much better. So from a viewer's standpoint, it was definitely better. Comparing the two, the NXL style that we've done now twice, and then the ESPN, I would say that I prefer the X-Ball size field. I think ESPN's field was a little too small. I liked the ESPN where it had a running clock, but I didn't like the fact that we only had 30 seconds between points.
Yeah, it's like reload. And
in the X-Ball format, you can do it with a longer game between points, or time between points, I should say.
Okay.
So they're the things that I would change. The field size, the paint, has definitely been up there with them both.
Yeah. All right. And then, so with fewer players on the field, like what are the skills that are going to matter the most for individual players?
I think it's still the same skills as Expo, where people are looking at it as in it's a different game. It's not. You still got to be able to have your lane shooting. You've got to be able to move into your bunkers. I think it is reading the field is really important in 3-on-3, and also understanding the box. And once you're lined up on the box, watching what the opposition's doing on the box before the buzzer goes off is really important 3-on-3, because you can pick that weak side and you know which side to pressure. So there'll be changes off the box. Yeah, I think
Yeah, just like reading and reacting,
Yeah.
like you would just anything. Yeah, yeah.
but skill set's the same.
Oh yeah. All right, and then with the 3v3 format, do you see that being, like a faster, much more aggressive format, or is it going to be more tactical?
It's definitely going to be faster because obviously you've got less players, but it's still there's still the importance of understanding the game plan, understanding the goal. If you're down on points, up on points, that's not going to change much. But it's definitely going to be a more of a faster, aggressive style, I would say.
Yeah, yeah, no, I can definitely see that too. And then here's a big one too for skills. How does communication change on the field with only 3 players?
It becomes easier because there's less people shooting paintballs at you. There's less people to communicate with. So in theory, it should become a lot easier.
Okay. Do you think 3 versus 3 gives younger players or professional teams that have smaller rosters a better shot at breaking into a professional division or maybe even just winning a tournament?
That's a good question. I think yes, especially if you've got a smaller roster, you don't need as many people. I mean, the NXL haven't really done anything with roster size yet, but I could see that coming down the line, right? You don't necessarily need as big of a roster. Younger age sort of doesn't show too much into it, but I think it will open up to a bigger opportunity for professional teams to maybe have 3-on-3 players and Expo players that's maybe not playing the same event. Right now we're doing the 3v3 on a Thursday and then going into Expo Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Maybe you don't need it to be that way as all the same roster. Maybe you have up and coming young talent that you test out on the 3-man and then they move into the Expo roster. There's definitely ways you can play it differently with the roster. But yeah, opportunities is always good, and I think it will give people more opportunity.
That is actually one thing that I kind of want to touch on a little bit too, was like watching, I think the best example is like Red Legion at this event during 3v3. Like they played a lot of like guys that are not normally like their starters in 5v5, and they still just put on a great game and a great show, and it was actually like really sweet to see.
Yeah, I think some of the teams are probably looking at it as in resting some of the guys that are going to play, like Red Legion. They run the same guys quite often, so they probably didn't want to give them or burn them out on a 3v3 Thursday. So right now, why it's all being tested, I think it's some teams are looking at it differently. I think it's going to be one of those situations as these tests go on and more things come available for 3-man, then we'll start to see it take shape. Like even for Dynasty, when we went into all these events, you always go in to try and win. But at the beginning of it, I still just wanted to get people time on the layout, ready for the X-Ball, wanted to make sure that everybody was dialing in the shots. But then as you get further into the 3v3 tournament, you start to go, okay, we want to win this now even more. So you sort of start changing your roster or your lineup a little bit.
Oh yeah, it was a blast to watch too. If anyone hasn't watched it yet, like you gotta watch it. How do you think the fans out there will respond or are responding to 3v3 compared to 5v5?
I think from a fan perspective, I would say it's great, right? Because you've got more paintball to watch. It is faster paced with giving you more points in that shorter window. So I mean, I've not heard any negative from anybody who's been watching it. other than the ESPN was a little too fast and people struggled a little bit. But I think if you're newer to the sport and you want to watch the 3v3, you will understand it much better than watching the ESPN one, because the field's a bit bigger, so you get more time, and it gives the opportunity for the commentators to explain what's happening more. So I think they're learning every time they do it.
Yeah, I agree with that, because that ESPN one was just like crazy fast, and I think there was a few points where people struggled to get onto the box just because of the shorter amount of time.
The time between points and also the size of the field. It was literally just attack, right? So
Yeah.
it wasn't so much, there wasn't as much thought being put into each point because it was literally such a small field. I think with doing 3v3 on the same size as an X-ball field, it gives the players more time to put the game together as it's happening.
Yeah, and then it gives you time to like talk to your guys and just be
Yeah.
like, hey, this is what we need to do, kind of thing. All right, so last question for the big picture. What is going to be the long-term impact that 3v3 could have on professional paintball?
I think only time will tell, but we have a good opportunity listening to like the podcast with what Tom Cole was on. If it opens up opportunities for Major League Paintball to take paintball to different locations, it should have a really good impact, because people are going to get exposed to paintball. More people exposed, more people play. So for me, I think that's the biggest thing. I think it's going to open up opportunities where X-Ball hasn't been able to. I think in turn, if you know that if it's the top six teams going to go to Vegas and go somewhere else on the East Coast, and if they have like this plan, then these professional teams will be able to go to sponsors and say, hey, we're going to be televised X amount of times a year. Would you like to be involved in the team? You'll get your logo on your jersey, and it gives the team opportunities to go out and get more capital, so then they can invest it more into the team and the players. So I hope it opens up a lot of avenues.
Hey, you and I both, because honestly, I think it'd be sweet to see this 3v3 format on something like X Games. I think X Games would be fantastic for it.
Exactly, that would be a good place for it to go, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not as crazy of a thing trying to take all the X-ball teams. You could just take a select few and turn them into three-man teams, just like they did for ESPN. And I think it would be a really good opportunity.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Junior, thank you so much. That's going to be it for today's interview about the 3v3 format. But yeah, big thanks to Junior for taking time out of his busy day to come in here and chat with us about the 3v3 format and the experience at both ESPN and the Lone Star Major. Congratulations again to Dynasty for winning that. And then if you love paintball content, you got to click that subscribe button, hit that bell, get notified, and let us know in the comment section below what you think of the 3v3 format. And then if you need to pick up any paintball equipment, I think there's one place to go, and that's going to be BFPGear.com.